Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Melissa Slaymaker, and I'm joined here by Erica Reeves. We are so excited today to be sharing with you our first virtual meetup, and we are going to be focusing on the Africa continent in this virtual meetup. So sit back, relax. It's purposefully over lunchtime, so maybe grab your coffee, grab a sandwich, and get ready to really get inspired by a big lineup of amazing speakers today. Erica, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. So Mel, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here, and a big warm welcome to everybody that's joining us from the South African chapter of Women in Tech. We are delighted to be part of hosting this first inaugural session of our Africa meetup and get an opportunity for all our chapters in Africa to actually be able to introduce themselves. And we are super excited to have the sponsorship and support of our platinum sponsor at APSA that's also helped us make this opportunity happen. So we're looking forward to a wonderful day of connecting and inspiring, and hopefully creating some great ecosystems for all of you to join in. So looking forward to seeing all of you further down the line, and sure it's going to be a really inspiring day for all of us. Thanks, Mel.
Perfect. So for those who've never heard of Women in Tech, and this is the first time kind of stumbling across us as a network, Women in Tech is a global movement, one mission of empowering 5 million women and girls in STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths, by 2030, aligning with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. A bit tongue twister today, but it is really around impact, and everything we do at Women in Tech is to collaborate with all the organizations through the Edison Alliance, created by the World Economic Forum.
We've had a slight glitch there. I'm sure Mel will be back in a second.
I hope you can hear me now.
There we go. You're back, Mel.
Perfect. I want to introduce for you today as well a very important guest speaker. We have Muhammad Ali Bikan. Welcome, Muhammad. Thank you for joining us today. As Erica mentioned, APSA is one of our platinum sponsors for our Women in Tech South Africa chapter, and also have global impact with our global awards happening in November. We'll talk about that later. Welcome, Muhammad. Would you like to tell us a bit about your role at APSA and a bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Melissa. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm Muhammad Ali Bikan. I'm the CIO for the APSA regional operations. So basically all the businesses outside of South Africa that APSA has across the continent. Been with the group for the last 13 years, been in the Africa region for the past 8 years, and really enjoying it. We're doing a lot on the continent. We're trying to become a digitally led bank. And as a result, there's lots of initiatives on the go, some very exciting stuff. But also as part of our strategy, our talent tower, Women in Tech is right on top of our agenda. So very, very focused to driving this agenda quite hard across the continent.
That's amazing. And I know that with APSA, you work as part of the Arrow division, which is called the APSA regional offices. So that expands outside of South Africa. Can you give us some insights as to what APSA is up to across the continent?
Yeah, so, like I briefly mentioned, we're focusing on becoming a digitally led bank. So we very much focus, our strategy is focused around some key areas. The first thing is maintaining the current systems we have. So making sure that the current customer base is looked after, our systems are available and online, and we continue to drive that to give them a superior customer experience. The second part is very much around how do we modernize our systems. As we know, the digital era is now evolving, and how do we also evolve our systems to make sure that we can land new capability. And over the last year, we landed quite a bit of our technology. So if you look at our card space, we've got mobile tap, we've got virtual card, and we continue to roll out these initiatives across the continent. We've now got a proper digital wallet that's available on the continent. And we continue. We've invested significantly in our integration layer, so making ease of partnerships, connecting to us at the bank, so partnering with fintechs and other capabilities on the continent becomes a lot easier. We have huge focus on data, and artificial intelligence, how we go about bringing that both from a customer and internal perspective to bring us efficiencies in what we do and how we execute better. And the last piece, I briefly spoke about as well was talent. How do we grow talent on the African continent? How do we pick strategic locations and build technology hubs where we can leverage? And this is where the women in tech comes into play, where we have an opportunity to drive the agenda quite hard and to give people the opportunity that wasn't available, and how we harness people's careers and give the women in tech an opportunity to showcase their talents and give them a platform to execute on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
I think that's exactly why we are so happy to be able to align with ABSA as a Women in Tech chapter and group, and really seeing the impact that this is actually making across South Africa and Africa as a whole. So really awesome to have that as part of our strategy and plan, and being able to support the initiatives on both sides. So thank you for that, Mohammed. Melissa, what's next?
So I just want to also highlight our sponsorship and partnership and collaboration that we have with ABSA across Africa. We are working on an AWS certification program where, with the ABSA sponsorship, we have been able to get certification. And we're also working on mentorship programs across the continent, where we have, I think, 80 women from ABSA all partaking in our global mentorship program. And coming up this year, we have obviously a huge event looking forward to on the 17th of October happening in Cape Town. We have our Africa Regional Awards and Summit, which is taking place at the Bay Hotel in Cape Town. So it's very exciting. And if you haven't yet got a ticket, or if you want to partake, then please let us know and get in touch. We are also going to be giving some tickets as giveaways, so just follow us and we will tell you how to get your ticket to come and attend those awards and the summit as well. So thank you, Mohammed, for your time. I don't know if there's any last words to share with us, but thank you for joining us for our virtual meetup.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's really great. I'm very grateful for the progress we've made in the Africa regions over the last couple of months. And I think we'll continue to drive it. And I want to thank both of you for your sponsorship. And it's been fantastic. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you. So I would like to, before we go on to our next panel, which will be introducing our chapter director from Kenya, from Zimbabwe, and from Burundi. So I would just like to share with you a little video clip, which will give you a little bit of an insight as to what Women in Tech is all about. So let me just get that ready for you. Just bear with me.
It's always great to have technology when it cooperates nicely with us. But yeah, I think it really is an awesome day today, and we're super excited. So please do comment in that in whichever medium that you are linking in with us. Don't forget to join us on LinkedIn and also on the Women in Tech Hub, so that you can keep track of all the events that are happening across the globe. Melissa, you ready for us with the video? Go.
Women are tech's most untapped resource. Not only is creating diverse teams ethical and will drive more economic growth, but future-proofing the job opportunities of women will ensure sustainable communities worldwide. Women in Tech is committed to actively promoting girls' and women's empowerment in STEM. We are present in 6 continents with thousands of members. Our power as a global movement is demonstrated by working magic every day. We create impact through action to build skills and confidence, setting women up for success.
So there you are. And I would like to welcome on stage now with us Lucy Mbuthia and also Leah Kay. So Leah, I can't see your camera for some reason. Very strange. Oh, hang on a second. Let me try. For some reason, your screen's black. Can you hear us, Leah?
I can hear you loud.
We're just breaking up a little bit, Leah, on your side. Maybe leave and come back in again.
So Lucy, how are you today? You are our chapter director for the Kenya chapter. Tell us a little bit about what's happening in Kenya. And I know you are planning a launch and doing all of these fun things. So let us know how you got involved with Women in Tech and what's happening in Kenya.
Thanks, Melissa, and hello, everyone. So I got involved with Women in Tech by virtue of like one of the chapter directors in Nigeria who introduced me to like this wonderful organization, if I may say. Our chapter is relatively new. However, we are now ready to kickstart, build a team around, and we have some programs or mini launches coming up with some partners, including Moringa School, which is like a training school for technology courses, and gearing up towards like our main launch event that maybe will happen next year, right? So right now we're still at our formative stages. We believe that there is a lot of opportunity, especially in Kenya. We can tap into the various tech hubs that are in our country. We know like several organizations are opening their global tech hubs in Kenya. So we believe that the opportunity is great. I think for us now, the key thing currently at the moment is how do we grow our community? So we encourage anyone who is here from Kenya to feel free to join our community. You can reach us on LinkedIn, you can reach out to me directly, or just on the Women in Tech Kenya and just join our community. We're also looking for volunteers that we can work with to build the community, build our media presence, and just grow the community overall. However, we look forward to the launches ahead, the programs that we are planning. We have an entire roadmap ahead of us. So yeah, we welcome all of you to join us and yeah, be part of the Getting More Women in STEM. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucy. It's amazing what you guys are doing. And just to mention, next year we are also going to be hosting a Kenya Summit in March. It's going to be celebrating International Women's Day in Nairobi, Kenya. So watch this space. We are still confirming some details, but very excited to be seeing you in person next year. So watch this space. And we've put a link up on here to say where you can join us. You can just type in wit-h.com. That's our Women in Tech platform. It's a free membership platform that you can join. And remember to join the chapters as well for where you are located. So Leah, I see that you are connecting today. I don't know, I think you're in Zambia today. So I'm not sure if the connection is great, but can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Women in Tech and what you are looking forward to today? Hi, Leah.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me loud and clear now and see me. It's exciting to be part of the first Africa virtual meetup. I joined Women in Tech as a facilitator, I think at the inception of Women in Tech South Africa. So it's been an incredible journey with everybody. I've since had the privilege and honor of being part of the team, joining for Women in Tech Country Zimbabwe. And I am currently set up at moment. So really incredible. The Zimbabwe chapter is young and willing to go. We've got an incredible team of 4. Our events and partner manager is Michelle Chikaneza. Our education program manager is Rikudzo Magwawa. And we've got Jennifer Ndlovu as our youth and mentorship and entrepreneurship program manager. So we've got an incredible, vibrant team. We're looking at incredible initiatives with engaging with government and look at the strategic drive for sustainability projects. And we are in early conversations with Women in Tech, Josephine Chinaki, that we're having early conversations with. So some exciting things that we've got lined up for Zimbabwe as well.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you, Leah. And looking forward to all of the programs happening in South Africa. We also run a program called This Is Me. And Leah is one of our long-standing speakers talking about the 4 C's and personal branding. So you've been a part of the Women in Tech family for more than 4 years now. So it's great to continue this journey. And Erica, coming back to you, you are now the country director for South Africa, and have also started with me the South Africa chapter also 4.5 years ago. Tell us a bit about what's happening in South Africa.
Absolutely. And thank you, Mel. So as you know, this was the creation of the Women in Tech South Africa chapter was actually Mel's brainchild. She had the good fortune to connect with our CEO and inspiring founder, Ayumi Oyuki-Moore, and brought the concept of Women in Tech to South Africa. And at the time, Mel and I were working together, and she came to me and said, this is something that she'd really like to do. And I was like, I know you want to do it, but please sign me up too, because it's an incredible opportunity and something that is so close to our hearts and what we're completely passionate about. So I think we've become partners in crime ever since before COVID, as Mel said, in the last 4 years. And really, we are super proud to have seen the Women in Tech Africa and South Africa chapters grow from 0 to the membership that we have now. And I think from a South African perspective, we've got over about 11,000 members. Just to give you some of the key stats that we're looking at and growing, which is incredible, as well as obviously from a global representation perspective. And we know that this is going to be something that grows and develops in the rest of Africa, particularly with the incredible country directors that we have in place with the likes of Leah and Lucy that have joined us today. We know we've done a lot of work behind the scenes together in some way, shape or form. So it's brilliant to sort of see these new chapters coming up and developing in the communities where it's really, really needed. Just to maybe give you a little bit of insight into what we do as the Women in Tech South Africa chapter. As Mel mentioned, we really have a focus on diversity and inclusion, but also digital equality as well. So really creating opportunities for people in underprivileged communities and any other communities or schools in need to have access to computers. So a lot of our work and the daily impact that we're trying to bring is centered around things like creation of IT learning centers, which we currently have 2 of, one in Philippi Village and the other one in Venda, where we actually have computer centers set up where people can come in, do training, have access to technology so people can email, put CVs together, do applications online, and we do various training courses and that around that as well. So that's one of the key things that we continue to do, and always looking for sponsorship with regard to computer donations so we can set up these incredible centers, which really empowers both the community and the learners, particularly in the schools that they're at. We get involved in exciting things like robotics fairs, which really sort of capture students so we can get to particularly female students sooner so that they are encouraged to pursue opportunities in the STEM fields and take subjects on that might be challenging, but obviously can create good career opportunities for them. We also have a mentorship program, which is part of the global program, and it's open to anybody. You can join as either a mentee or a mentor and partake in that and get matched up potentially with a global, somebody from across the world. So really, really taking into account what are you looking for and how can you achieve that. And I think the mentorship is such a powerful tool to actually improve your skills and experience and actually progress in your career and get the support that you need to continue to do that. Over and above that, we do lots and lots of meetup and events, obviously to connect, create ecosystems, creating inspiring opportunities to see what people have done before and how you can kind of follow in their footsteps or get their support and the inspiration you need to follow your dreams and achieve those. And then the other really important part is the skills programs that we do. Mel mentioned This Is Me program, and Leah has been one of our great and really well received speakers on that program with Leah K's 4 C's, which I'm sure she'll tell you more about. And these have been incredibly productive programs where we focus on confidence building, communication skills, and work readiness. So taking into account, how do you do an interview? How do you get your CV ready? How do you get your LinkedIn profile ready? And what is expected when you actually apply for a job or internship or anything along those lines where you need to present yourself. So we've had some amazing results out of that, and that's something that we continue to grow as well. So that's just a little taste of some of the involvement we have, the areas that we focus on, and those are continuing to grow and throughout. Obviously, as Mel said, our big event that we do connected with Global is our regional awards and summit, which is happening in October, and therefore the winners of that get to go through to the global awards, which creates such a beautiful platform for people to really step up and shine, and to acknowledge their incredible achievements across the 9 different categories that we've got. So stay posted, stay connected, because there's a lot to share, and a lot to be involved in, and to get great support on, because really everybody across the globe is really involved in this organization, and it's amazing the networks that you can create. So that's it from my side. Chris, I see you've also joined us.
Yeah, sorry, I think I had some problem with the technical side, so that's why I joined late. Sorry for that.
Hi, Chris. I'd like to welcome you as well as the country director for Burundi. So a lot of people don't know much about Burundi, but can you tell us what's happening, why you joined Women in Tech as a guy, as a male ally, which is amazing. We need more of you. So let us know what inspired you and tell us what's happening in Burundi.
Yeah, thank you very much, Melissa. I mean, this is for me, it's a great honor and pleasure to be one of the to belong to Women Tech great family that we have. So my name is Chris Clement Igiraneza. I'm from Burundi. Burundi, I think for those who don't know, Burundi is one of East Africa community countries near Rwanda, Congo. In the term of the population, we have a very young population. The average age is 17.3, whereby more than 75% of population are under 25, and the more than half of the population is made by women. So you understand that we cannot talk about technology in Burundi without involving women. So that's one point that I as somebody who understands that all development, all sustainable development have to go through women. We have to involve women. So I joined Women Tech because I've been fond of Women Tech for a while, just seeing what the great job we are doing.
Well, let's hope Chris can join us
on the other
again.
side, I'm the founder of. Sorry.
I'll continue. That's
okay.
All right.
I've been, because before that, I'm the founder
Chris
for one.
Chris is just frozen. Oh, there we go.
You're back, Chris. Side, I'm the founder of one NGO based Burundi called Kids Hub. So we've been working with the women with different program within tech. Then when I noticed Women Tech, and I understood directly that we have to join the movement. We cannot impact ladies or women in Burundi without being a part of Women Tech. So I've joined Women Tech because I believe that we are doing a great job, and we need collaboration. We cannot solve just issue of Burundi separately without joining the forces in Africa or everywhere in the world, as Women Tech is doing. So what we are doing in Burundi is we have 2 centers in Burundi. One is in Bujumbura, and we have the second one in rural area. Because we cannot try to push women technology just focusing in capitals. We have to go in the rural area, because the majority of Burundian women, they are living in the rural area. So what we've been doing with the partnership with the Help Women Tech Global Movement, we have been organized seminars, workshops from digital literacy, the basic things. Because our chapter, our main goal is sustainable education. We believe that we cannot, and we never bring that opportunity if we can't educate our ladies. So we've been having workshops, as I said, from the basic one, digital literacies, and we have workshop in emerging technology like blockchain, AI, and we have been developing some collaborative projects, because Women Tech Burundi chapter is partnering with the Minister of ICT in Burundi. So we've been working with universities in Burundi, bring some projects. And one of the projects that I have to highlight is called Tech Safe, whereby we want to use technology against the gender-based violence gender-based, that we can bring women to be themselves able to develop those solutions that we help them to fight against that gender-based. And what we're doing now, what I have to highlight, because we will be soon launching our first Women Tech Student Club. So we are going to have soon open with the partnership with one of University of Burundi, one of the best University of Burundi, University Polytechnic of Gitega. We'll be soon starting Women Tech Student Club. Why that? It's because we believe that we have to prepare those women. We push them to go to technology, but when they finish their university, they're not even able to get a job. So one of the projects is how can we work with universities and provide the knowledge, not only the technical knowledge, but as well soft knowledge, how to communicate, how to create a job, those kind of things that are needed if you really need to push women in technology. Yeah, and if we talk about the challenges, the challenges everywhere. So we still pushing the access to tools because we really need to have more centers in Burundi, and then we believe that if we keep working with Women Tech, we will really do that. Okay. That's what
awesome.
I have to say.
Thank you so much, Chris. And Lucy, thank you for your time. We're going to be introducing some more speakers in a moment. So I'm waiting for more country directors to join us shortly. Thank you, Erica, for your time as well. It's exciting what's happening on the continent. And then while we are waiting for our next speakers to come on, I will also, some speakers are joining us now. I'll also play with another video around our Beyond Ceilings campaign. But it was lovely having you all, and thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Leah, for joining as well. It's great, and we hope to hear more about what you're doing in Zimbabwe as well. Thank you. So without further ado, I'd like to share with you just a video campaign that we as Women in Tech did with UN Women. So we really want to break ceilings, right, as Women in Tech. So I would love to share with you a short film that we created. Let me do that for you now. So there we are. It's our Breaking Ceilings campaign, and I'd love to join. We are joined now by some more country directors across Africa. So hello, Fanny, and hello, Benny. Fanny.
Hello.
As, and Benny as well. Welcome today, and let us know what's happening in the DRC. As we also have Elizabeth Apia joining us from Ghana. So welcome, ladies. If you'd like to introduce yourselves, let's start with you, Fanny, and then we'll go to Benny and to Elizabeth. And let us know what's happening in your region and why Women in Tech. What's your passion? And tell us a bit about how you joined and what's happening in your country.
Thank you, Melissa. Hi, everybody. Bonjour à tout le monde. If you know Africa, you know that DRC is the biggest country in Central Africa, and we have a population of over 100 million people, and more than 70% are young people. So it was like a dream for us to work with women in tech and to make sure that those young people, and especially the girls and the women, have the same opportunities in terms of training and in terms of working in tech and in STEAM. And I would say by coincidence, but I know that things work out that way sometimes. We were able to get in touch with one of the Women in Tech country directors that introduced us, Benny and I, and that's how we founded the chapter in DRC. And we are really proud to represent Women in Tech in DRC and to represent DRC today. So what we are aiming to do is to grow the community based on a partnership of people that are already in the Congolese ecosystem, because the Congolese ecosystem exists, but we would like to be the biggest hub of all the people that are already working in tech. And we want to do that with training. We did last month an introduction to coding and robotics for young girls. And the next event that we're going to do is a training on soft skills. But we want to do also mentorship, because we are lacking role models, women role models in DRC, and especially in tech. So we really want to, like I said, be this hub that is open to everybody, and especially to women that are working, that are willing to work, that are willing to be trained, and that are willing to evolve in the STEAM domains.
That's amazing. And Benny, you're also representing DRC, but you're based in Paris, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And DRC is a very francophone country, so you're welcome to even speak French for our francophone viewers. But it'd be lovely to hear from you as well. So go ahead.
Okay. Just an introduction in English. My name is Benny, and I am the strategic director of Women in Tech, and I'm very honored to be here, very honored to be part of Women in Tech. Donc, beauté, bonjour à tous. Donc, je m'appelle Benny. Je suis donc cofondatrice et directrice stratégique de Women in Tech. For our chapter, what I would like to say, my contribution is to shape the global strategy and to make sure that our action meets our targets and meets our goal and meets the goal of the global. Okay? Donc, ma contribution, c'est de mettre en place la stratégie, la globale stratégie du chapitre, et de faire en sorte que nos actions correspondent à nos cibles, à nos objectifs, et également à ce que nous prévoyons. Alors, for our chapter, we divided the female population, as Fanny said, we divided the female population into 4 categories. We have what we call the pupils, donc ce qu'on va appeler les élèves, the high school students, the students from university, donc les étudiantes, the entrepreneurs, and the professional. And we built our strategy into 5 pillars. First pillar is events. So we plan to organize more and more events to make know our office, to promote our office. Material equipment, because we have lack of equipment in our country, and we need a strong partner and strategic partners. Training, another pillar. Mentoring and contribution to the Congolese ecosystem. As Fanny said, we have an ecosystem, but we have a lack of some role model and something. So we need to be able to implement all our action and all we plan to do in the country, we need strong partnership. Strong partnership. We need strong and strategic partnership, as well as with public and private organization. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we are also joined by Elizabeth Apia from Ghana. Welcome, Elizabeth. And it's so good. We have so many comments. Before I'm going to give you your a few minutes. I just want to say we are joined by women and men and just everyone all over the world. Comments coming in from from the US, from Asia, from Colombia, all across Africa, Madagascar, lots of people, Tunisia, South Africa. I mean, there's just so many people viewing. So I think this movement is really creating the impact that we were hoping for it to create. So just thank you for being part of this amazing movement. So Elizabeth, welcome. Tell us a little bit about your role at the Ghana chapter, and tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Women in Tech and what's there to look forward to. If I'm in Ghana right now, how can I join the network?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Melissa. My name is Elizabeth Apia, representing the Ghana chapter, and I am so happy to share the journey of Ghana chapter with you today. But before I do that, probably have to tell you a little bit about myself. I am the marketing officer of Electricity Company of Ghana, and I studied business management with the University of Cape Coast. I went on to do my master's in marketing, and I am a chartered marketer. I am customer. As a marketer, I'm a customer-focused person and a very creative person. I got to know of Women in Tech from the chapter ambassador, Madame Luvina Sandra Achu, after she has shared the goal of the global group with me, which is to empower 5 million young girls and women in STEAM by 2030. Wow, I felt this is big. It was a step in the right direction, and I really wanted to be part of this group and to serve as a volunteer in a group, which will provide a lot of opportunities for everybody, leaving no one behind, especially in this ever-evolving tech space. As a country, our focus has been on STEM, but Women in Tech covers a broader scope, which is STEAM, bringing all on board the creativity of arts. Since joining the group, I've learned a lot of volunteering as a marketing manager, which improves on my skills. And I also have the opportunity to meet with diverse personalities in the educational, business, and government spaces. Women in Tech is something that brings everybody on board and gives you more. It gets you motivated to do more. So it's a best group, and I think that it has given me the opportunity to speak on big platform, especially this one, and I don't take it for granted. I want to talk a little bit about Women in Tech Ghana chapter. We are a young group, and we started on the 18th of June 2024 with just about 10 members. But I am super excited to say that we are now over 100 people, and we want to partner with institutions, organizations, businesses, public and private companies to support initiatives that will provide free and affordable educational resources, materials to young girls and women. This is our research. We found out that many young girls in our country here are willing to take up courses in tech, but they are not able to afford them due to high costs that is involved. Forming such partnerships would help us solve this challenge. We've done a lot of programs in Ghana. We've done a lot of community meetups in our time, and we are building network. We are building connections. We are sharing ideas. We had opportunity of other people from other fields from the hospitality field, from the banking sector, from the HR sector. It was an exciting time, exciting community meetup, which brought a lot of diverse ideas to us, and we are so happy. We are also having webinars, telling our stories, seminars, trainings, and we are building each other up. When you listen to it, it builds other people who were so down, they didn't know what to do, they can do it. And we are so happy that we are going together. You know, there's an African proverb which says that if you want to go fast, you can just go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with people. So we are so happy because we are bringing everybody on board, and it's like we are going to a place, and we are so happy with that. The Ghana chapter has also collaborated with women in Wakren in their just ended workshop. And we are happy to say we have 3 members on it who were trained to do Python for data analytics. And we provided resource persons for these programs. As a young chapter, we have obtained 3 nominations in the upcoming Women in Tech African Awards in the categories of Lifetime Awards. We've gotten Tech Diplomacy Award, the Green Startup Award, and we are so excited as a group, as a young chapter.
So also to mention about the awards, you mentioned the Lifetime Achievement Award nominee is actually Professor Elsie Kaufman, who's one of our speakers later today.
Exactly.
So that's amazing. I want to come back to Fanny. If you want to share something, you mentioned you wanted to share something else with our viewers today. Please go ahead. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Actually, I wanted also to say that we are really proud that for our first participation to the Women in Tech Africa Awards, we already have 1 nomination, Ms. Fiska Makila, and we are really proud of her and really proud to be represented at this wonderful event.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. That's the end of our sort of chapter directors and members introductions. We also have other chapters in Africa, including Egypt, Morocco, Mauritius, Zambia. We're also launching new chapters very soon in some other countries, which I'll mention, which I don't know if I'm allowed to mention yet. But thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today. And we'll be moving on to our next.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now I would love to introduce to you our next panel of esteemed speakers as we move away from the kind of chapter introduction. So hopefully now that you are aware that actually there's a lot happening on the African continent when it comes to women in tech. So very, very excited to be part of this movement. So welcome. I'm going to introduce Karuna Mangali. Karuna, you're the CEO of Envision IT. You're based in Mauritius. Like I mentioned, a chapter in Mauritius as well. It's a chapter we want to do more of. So hopefully we can see more meetups, more events on the island. I would like me to come for a conference in Mauritius. So we'll work on something. And welcome as well, Dr. Nina Emua. So, Dr. Nina, welcome to our live talk today. And I'd also like to welcome Tamuna Dutuma, who is the Head of Strategy and Technology Strategy and Transformation at ABSA. And Dr. Nina, you wear so many hats as well. You'll be managing director of Avandis Consulting. You're also the founder of 100 Women in Davos, as well as the African Women and CEO Network. So we are so privileged to have you join us today on this panel. So I want to talk to you today specifically about opportunities. So everyone talks about Africa as being, such a great continent for opportunities. And tell us a little bit about how we can also overcome some challenges. And so that is the panel topic today. So my first question, I'm going to come to Dr. Oh, I just want to see, we're waiting for one more speaker. So I'll come to Dr. Nino. And the question I want to ask is, what do you see as the most exciting opportunities in tech or in STEM and for Africa, and how can we use those opportunities to really scale economic growth?
Okay. Hi, Melissa, and hello to my fellow panelists, and hello to everybody who is listening. Delighted to be here. Now, when we're looking at Africa and we're talking about opportunities, I think that the one that is obvious to us is our youthful growing population and our growing consumer market. So those are two things which coming together when they're used properly can actually stimulate growth in technology and having technology as the driver. Why is that, or in what ways? One, the first thing is that the younger population it is you have, the more it is a digitally native. So naturally, we have a population that embraces technology right from the very beginning. When you have access to markets, then it means you can scale up what it is you're doing. But I think that if we look at the structure of our economies in Africa, the obvious ones are things like agriculture and agri-tech. We have, technology as a whole. We have health tech. We have education, and these are three critical areas, and financial services. So I think that when we're looking at the opportunities, we should start to look for what are the needs, because the needs can be great drivers. We've seen how people talk about fintech, but we had M-Pesa, 30 years ago, and we have the ability in Africa to actually to leapfrog technology. And with a youthful population, that is a major advantage. Now, just to finalize and say that in order to do all of that, there's certain things that we need to do. Technology doesn't, or technological access, or rather success, does not exist on its own. If we look at, where most of this started in the Silicon Valley, in the Bay Area, what we see is that ecosystem is a combination of government, of education, of the tech innovators, and of course of investment. So in order to actually leverage the potential that we have in Africa, we need to have those kinds of that ecosystem to really leverage the opportunity for our sustainable development and growth.
Thank you for that, Dr. Nino. And you mentioned around, sustainable development and growth. And that brings me back to kind of the 17th SDG around partnerships. And I think all of these opportunities and all of these great potential that we see on the African continent really comes down to great partnerships. For me, I think that's how you can really scale what you're doing. I just want to also introduce Vanolia Martin. She joined us from Microsoft. She's the Chief Client Executive for Technology at Microsoft. So welcome, Vanolia, joining our panel today. And actually, I want to ask you as well, from what you've seen working for Microsoft and looking at digital, transformation happening across the continent. Obviously, you can also introduce yourself more. Tell us a bit about yourself, and also how do you see how we can leverage on these exciting opportunities in Africa?
Fantastic. Great. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for that, Melissa. I am so excited to be here with everyone at my lunch hour. So this is great. As Melissa mentioned, I'm Vanolia Martin. I'm a client executive at Microsoft. So I basically help organizations leverage the power of Microsoft solutions to really drive and accelerate their digital and AI transformation journeys. I am also an advisory board member for Women in Tech, which is this amazing NGO hosting this virtual event today. And I'm a PhD researcher as well. So all of these topics are quite close to my heart. When I think about some of the exciting opportunities in Africa, for me, it really lies in three key areas. And I think that that the doctor, I'm just trying to see your name again, has alluded to quite a bit of that. The first is digital transformation and the potential of artificial intelligence on this continent. And the second piece is education. And the third piece is the strategic focus on women empowerment within the STEM industry. Now, if you think about digital transformation, right, I really believe that it offers African economies a unique opportunity, as was mentioned earlier, to really leapfrog more traditional growth models. So instead of following the linear path of industrialization, we can now leverage the power of emerging technologies, and Africa can really leapfrog into a more sustainable and innovative digital economy that is more resilient, that is more adaptable, and that is more capable of addressing unique regional challenges, through innovative solutions, whether that is in financial services, e-commerce, healthcare, agriculture, etc. And these technologies, I believe can really enhance productivity. It can improve service delivery and create, business models that can drive economic growth for us. I think, Doctor, you mentioned earlier as well around the widespread adoption of mobile technologies. We know that Africa, it doesn't matter where you are in Africa, right? Everybody's got a mobile phone. And I think statistics showed that by 2030, there will be the mobile market for subscribers, for mobile subscribers, will reach over 692 million by 2030, and that number is growing. And this is really driven by the increasing adoption of mobile technology. So it's really offering Africa a transformative potential to drive economic growth and to improve social services, by enhancing financial inclusion, by connecting underserved populations, and really fostering innovation. I want to quickly move on to education, which is the other key opportunity that I see. Now, education is a key driver for economic growth, and focusing on STEM education can really enhance Africa's competitive edge in the global market. Now, mentioned earlier as well, I think it was that we have the world's youngest population. I think it's over 60% of our people are under the age of 25. Now, can you imagine the potential there, right? Opportunities for innovation, opportunities for development, for economic growth. There's so much potential within our young people. The World Economic Forum estimated, I think it was 2 years ago, so they estimated that 15 to 20 million young people will join the African workforce every year within the next 2 decades. So by 2030, Africa will be home to more than a quarter of the world's population under 25. So with our young population, there's a significant opportunity for productivity and to fuel entrepreneurship. But to do this, we need to have the right skills. Now, Melissa, you mentioned earlier about the partnerships, right? And this is a great opportunity for partnerships. So for government, educational institutions, private sectors to really come together and to play a key role in bridging this skills gap. And I think there's already a lot of organizations doing this. I'm going to just talk about the tech industries or the tech giants for a minute. Now, for instance, at Microsoft, we have different skilling initiatives that really empowers our citizens. So whether you are a job seeker, you're a nonprofit, you're in government, you are a student, there's various free training that you can go on and you can empower yourself with these emerging tech. I know AWS has got the same. Melissa, you can tell them about that, and Google as well. So all of these tech giants are already coming to the party to see how they can help with education. And it's really an opportunity for Africa to capitalize on education and to expand the access of quality education across Africa, especially in those remote areas. Investments in education systems in STEM, I think, is quite important, right? And really bridging that gap between what we are what we are teaching our kids in school and what the industry needs are, and how do these worlds come together so that we can really foster our young people and really start skilling up our young workforce. The last aspect I very quickly want to highlight is the third element that I mentioned, is placing a more intentional focus on women in STEM. Now, empowering women is not just about, oh, it's a social imperative. It is really an economic imperative, if you think about it, right? Increasing the participation of women in STEM field in Africa really presents an opportunity, or a valuable opportunity for economic development. In this time where we find ourselves, where technology is reshaping industries, it is reshaping economies, tapping into the skills, the perspectives, and the talents of women, this continent can really enhance its innovation. It can improve its problem solving and create a more diverse workforce that can contribute to economic growth and can address the various societal challenges that we are facing. And this is essential for the African continent, right? So I just want to end off by saying that the role of women in STEM is not just about filling the gender gap, but it's really about empowering women and really about driving Africa's economic transformation through innovation and through equitable growth. Thanks.
Amazing. I love your passion. Vanolia, you're always such a, you have so much passion for this, and this is why we love to have you as our speakers. So I want to come to Tamu Datuma and to Varuna next for the next question. And it is not, I'm giving you the harder question around preventing what are the biggest barriers of preventing women and girls in STEM of entering the field of technology, and how can we address these challenges at scale? So it is a little bit more of a tricky question. So Tamu, can I come to you first and let us know what your thoughts are on that?
No, absolutely, Melissa. Can I just check if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Everybody's having technical problems today. So good afternoon to my fellow panelists. It's a pleasure to be on this platform, and thanks, Melissa, for the invitation. Well, yeah, you put it across very well. It's a hard question, and I always think of this as one of the wicked problems that we have in society, right? And I think first and foremost, it's the issue of sexism that we face generally, sort of in the world, and for decades, spanning centuries, right? I think this has been something that has, interested, academia and even in the corporate world in terms of the research pieces that have been done of late, right? In terms of actually having to look at what is at the core of what we are seeing, right? I like particularly the one recent study that I came across by one Vanessa Naidu. It's an MBA study. It gives with the Faculty of Strategy there, where essentially she was looking at gender diversity in a similar context, right? And she, interestingly for me, identified two categories that I think well encapsulated some of the points, and I think some of the speakers have alluded to some of these issues as well. So it's great to see the patterns that are coming through, in terms of, thematically, some of the issues, right? I think the first one that she put across was this issue of hostile sexism, which is the belief that a girl or a woman cannot fulfill a role purely based on her gender, right? As simple as that. I think that's the first concept that she put across. And the second one, she called it benevolent or ambivalent sexism. And this has some subcategories, well, right, which I'll briefly get into here in the interest of time. I think the first one is called protective paternalism, where men take the role of a protector. And there are several reasons to this. It could be cultural, right? And also could be, a system of beliefs or religion, etc., right? And there's another one, which is gender differentiation, which says that men and women differ and we're born to fulfill different roles, right? Such as that men are providers and women are caregivers, right? I think we often see that as well in terms of mental models. And then the last one is heterosexual intimacy, which is the bias that women get pregnant and give birth while men are impregnators, and that this simple notion then basically just defines our roles in society, right? So this sort of framework she took and then she applied the same lens across a couple of a sample of a couple of JSE listed companies, and for those who are not from South Africa, JSE is our local stock exchange, and she applied it on 172 leaders right across these companies. And I think quite interesting some of the findings. I mean, the first finding was that a lack of gender diversity in places like boardrooms, for instance, is more a function of this piece around benevolent sexism, right, which I just mentioned, more than hostile sexism. So I'll just do a recap of what that actually is. So benevolent is this protective paternalism, is the gender differentiation, which says that men and women differ. Therefore, right, we particularly look forward to different categories in terms of our, of our role in society. And then the last one is the bias that women get pregnant and men are impregnators. Therefore, this defines our role in society, which is quite baffling to think about. This is a recent study, and this is how society still views some of these issues. And I think the second finding that I found in the paper is that women actually exhibit a higher scores for this benevolent sexism component, which is suggestive as well, right? If you think about that, women are pretty much party to the pervasive phenomenon and somewhat condone, right, this piece. And I like this because I think you start getting into the data of some of these issues. And finally, I like, the way you put across some of the data across what we're seeing from a statistical point of view. And it's not something that we do often, right? To actually try and dig deeper into the issues and look at the data, because it allows us to do a few things. Number one, you diagnose the right issues, right? Number two, you'll also be able to extract and answer the right exam question, right? So firstly, there has to be awareness, right, of these biases, because sometimes, that's why they're called bias. Sometimes they call them unconscious biases. And if we don't, deliberately trying to get the awareness for these biases, then we're at a disadvantage. So society at large is mindful, or has to be mindful, of certain attitudes and biases that end up, being at the core of some of the decisions we make in hiring people, right? In this particular instance, it's the boardroom decisions and who gets to sit on boards, right? Some of the issues that are fundamentally at the core of that. So I think we don't talk enough about the theory and the psychology behind what we're seeing, right? And then particularly if I zoom into STEM careers, once we know and recognize, some of these issues, and I'll give an example, right? In how I suppose, some of the work that we're also doing at APSA, we are able to guard against, the perpetuation of the same mistakes and the vicious cycle, right? In terms of STEM in particular, I often talk about, grassroots and why grassroots are very important. I'll link this back to the bias, component that I spoke of. And in particular, the bias just simply around exposure, right? What exposure are we giving to boy children versus girl children at the grassroots level? This can be at school, right? This can be at home. We often, make these mistakes of steering sort of boy children to certain activities, right? And our girls sort of to the opposite of that. Therein lies the bias, which perpetuates, I suppose, all the way to high school. You see it in college and university. And again, I think, simple exposure means also giving our girls access to women in some of these fields so that they can also see themselves there, right? That is something that, they can also do, therefore demystifying the issue that we spoke about earlier. So I think largely, this is also where men like myself, would play a role, because I think also being able to go on the other side and saying, this is not based on the role that society's, sort of views of you, right? But it's also based on just pure capability, right? Which you are the same as me, and you're able to do exactly the same thing that I do. So data will tell you, in South Africa in particular, under 13% of STEM graduates are women, right? Then, you look at engineering as a subset, it's only 7%, right, of women who graduate as engineers. This statistic even gets lesser and lesser and lesser if you then look into then how many get into the jobs, blue chip companies, etc. Right? So if you don't fix at the grassroots level, which is my view, where we all have a part to play, and I like some of the points raised around partnerships and collaborations, etc. I think then we lose an opportunity here, right, for us to be able to deliberately drive, call it, STEM take up for girls through some of this sort of tailored programs, such as the ones as well that we do as APSA for sort of some of these bursaries that are particularly, aimed to incentivize for girls to get into some of these subjects as well. So I think this is Melissa, it's as you said, it's a hard question. And I think we do sit with a larger challenge here that if we don't fix the grassroots level, I think it perpetuates to much more later in life. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Samuna. It's so insightful. And this is why I think also, you won the Ally Award last year at our Africa Awards, because you really, you look at the data and it's factual and you say, this is the data, there's a problem there. We need to come up with solutions. We need to start at grassroots. We need to make people aware of the biases. So all of those things. And so it really isn't just a one solution for everything. There's a lot of different problems that you've mentioned. Varuna, I'm coming to you as well for the same question. I know it's not an easy one. So what is your viewpoint on some of these challenges, and how do we overcome and solve these problems?
Sure. So good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'm really pleased to be part of this discussion, and thank you, Melissa, for including me. So I would say one of the biggest obstacle is the perception that STEM is still a man's world. So just like mentioned by Tamu, so this perception is really prevalent. And when young girls don't see women working as engineers, scientists, or tech leaders, it becomes really hard for them to imagine themselves in those roles. So this lack of role model, I would say, hits their confidence really early on. Then there's education. Even when some of the girls do have access to quality education, they are not always encouraged to pursue STEM subjects. And then those who do make it to this field, the challenge doesn't stop there. We have all experienced that, and we know that women often face bias and fewer opportunities at work. So they are not able to advance, they feel isolated in workplaces that don't really support them. And this makes it really hard for them to succeed or even to stay at that work. And in the context of Africa, I would say these challenges are even more profound. So access to good education, especially for girls in rural areas, lower income families, is a serious issue. On top of that, there's the cultural norms still pushing girls out of education in more traditional role. So for women who do make it for STEM careers, balancing these professional lives with family expectation can be a real challenge. But in Mauritius, we have quite a unique situation, I would say. Boys and girls here are provided with equal education opportunities, and girls are even outperforming boys in all national examinations. Statistically speaking, girls have consistently surpassed boys here academically. So we are making significant progress in having girls to pursue STEM studies and careers. However, there's still a low number of women in leadership roles. So this we still have to tackle in Mauritius. From this we can deduce that it's not just about providing access to education, it's about changing the whole mindset around it, to be able to trust women more, give them equal opportunities at work so that they can actually realize their full potential. But it's a good thing that we're talking about it, and the change is happening gradually. And one of the best things that we can do for young girls is to organize more hands-on experiences with workshops, robotic clubs, and also science camps. This will really make a difference. Also, having more female role models is going to be key. On a bigger scale, I would say collaboration among everyone, starting with the government, businesses, educators, to really tackle these challenges heads on. We have to address social bias from school itself, at the workplace, training teachers, employers to be able to recognize these biases and to remove them. It's going to be a huge task. It is ongoing, but there's much to be done still. But I believe if we work together through policy changes, industry partnerships, local initiatives, we can definitely get to where we want to. So we definitely need to create a world where women and girls don't just enter STEM workplaces, but they can thrive, they can lead, innovate in these fields. So more power to girls.
Awesome. I echo everything that you say. Is like it really is like what we need, like to solve problems at different stages of your career, from childhood, early learnings to universities, work and beyond. But really, there's this, and I think Tama also mentioned this, that as you grow up towards leadership roles. So if you're looking at the Fortune 500 companies in the world, only 5% of the CEOs of those companies are women. So, and it's really, that is a huge gap. So as we move up to leadership roles, there is still this big challenge. So my next question is to Dr. Anino, which is actually addressing this, and it's really how do we as African leaders and organizations create more pathways for women in STEM to succeed in leadership roles?
This is truly an interesting one, and we've talked about so many issues right at the bottom. But when we're looking at women rising, what are those issues, and how can they be addressed? Now we obviously situate all of this within the context of policy, which we've discussed, the context of organizations, which we're discussing, and also what women themselves can possibly do, because we have a lot of women sitting listening to this. Now, in terms of organizations, the first thing is that when we then look at, it's almost like a funnel, right? The funnel effect, going the other way, right to the top. And what is driving this? The first thing is that you have to be intentional. And I think that changing that mindset of organization starts with realizing that having female talent isn't just a question of justice. It's actually a huge opportunity, because organizations that have a more diverse leadership actually do better. So that's the first thing. So it's changing that mindset. Once you change that mindset, is actually second thing is actually making a strategic responsibility of the executive team and the board. Because very often, if it's looked at as an initiative at the human resources level alone, then they don't have the tools and the power to be able to implement it and make it happen. When it's strategic, it means that all the executives, all the top leaders have a responsibility. What gets measured gets done. What gets rewarded gets done. So there's also that. So it starts really from at the board level or at the leadership level, depending on the side of the organization, realizing that this is an opportunity. Then the other thing which has been touched on lightly a little bit is in terms of inclusion. And that means even if you do get women in through the door, what happens within the organization in keeping them? And why is it that we have women who are leaving? One, the organizations actually were never built for women historically. Industrial Revolution. They were built for men. That is how it was 200 years ago. But we have still institutionalized in many of these processes. So when we look at it and see, what are the things that we can do? First of all, is organization flexible enough to reflect the flexible and the inclusive workplace? Number two, what are the sort of, once we have women in through the door or a more diverse team through the door, are we doing things to make sure that their voices are included? What happens, and we saw that very often, is that women in getting to the levels of leadership actually find that they're in there, right, but somehow they are not necessarily being listened to. And it's not just being listened to, but it's that inclusion that actually brings in the benefit of a diverse team. So if you have the talent, but you're not taking into consideration that, then you do see women who are talented who start leaving the workforce. So I would just say that one, it has to be intentional, it has to be strategic. You have to look at all your processes in terms of hiring. One thing we have not discussed and is a reality, and most women will tell you they've either seen it, experienced it, or heard it, right, is the workplace can very often be abusive to women, right? And it's something that for some reason we don't like to talk about, right? And if it's the onus is always on the woman, for example, and she's always in the position of having to defend herself, then you find women who are not coming out, and you have the perpetrators, right, who are within the system. So organizations need to put in systems before it happens, right, that makes it natural and normal to have an inclusive workplace. So these are just some of the issues. There's so many, but let me just stop there for now.
Melissa, you're on mute.
Sorry, just saying thank you, Anino, for that. Thank you, Vanolia. It is always so wonderful to see the work that you're doing, not just in Africa, but also as part of the World Economic Forum with your 100 Women in Davos, and really bringing that global voice and bringing that information, that insight to us here on the continent. So thank you so much for that. Vanolia, I'm going to come to you next. And obviously, you're working very much as Microsoft with different industries. So I want to ask you, how can African countries leverage the digital transformation to solve critical issues in different sectors like healthcare, finance, and even education? So over to you, please.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. I just want to quickly just say, Doctor, that is so relevant, right? I think as we get the women ready for the workforce needs to be ready to receive them as well, and to have a really conducive environment for all these young women coming into the workplace. Melissa, to answer your question, let me think. Let's think about healthcare first, right? I think as Africa, we're faced with significant challenges when it comes to healthcare. There's shortages of medical professionals. There's limited access to specialized care, particularly in rural areas. So I think that digital transformation can address many of these healthcare challenges, specifically around access. Giving access to healthcare within those underserved communities by leveraging technologies like telemedicine and mobile health applications. Now, for those of you who don't know what telemedicine is, it is basically a mechanism that provides medical care remotely. So this could be through video conferencing or a phone call, or like virtual interaction as we're having here. And this really allows medical professionals then to diagnose, treat, and monitor patients without you having the need to physically go to a doctor. Now, just think about if you're sitting in a remote area, how valuable that is, right? Or during COVID, how valuable that was. So, and this is so important for those underserved communities. And we highlighted earlier the high penetration of mobile devices within those areas. So telemedicine can really bring healthcare services to individuals who do not have access to nearby clinics, who do not have access to medical facilities, and really ensure that they receive the medical advice and the consultation that they need for their health. And this can really help reduce the disparity of healthcare access within those communities. Now let's think about artificial intelligence within this scenario, right? So AI capabilities can really enhance the accuracy of diagnosing diseases. So whether it is malaria or TB or more chronic conditions like diabetes. So what AI can do is to analyze vast medical data sets. So look at that data set and then identify patterns and trends within that data that you can say, okay, so these are the typical patterns that we'll see for TB. These are the typical patterns that we'll see for malaria. And sometimes these are things that are missed by human practitioners. So it's really about technology and artificial intelligence and humans working together and coexisting to really help drive that transformation and help drive that improvement for our citizens across the continent. If you think about financial inclusion, now financial inclusion still remains a significant challenge in Africa. There's many communities that do not have access to the traditional banking systems. It's not like there's an FNB or a APSA sitting at every corner. So, how do we really help those communities to really be included within the financial space? So things like mobile technology and digital financial services can really provide accessible and affordable banking solutions to those individuals. And this can really help them then to be part of the formal economy. It can help them to save securely, not save under the mattress, but actually save in a secured environment, and help them to have access to credit, help small businesses, our SMEs, to have access to loans, etc., and also to have access to insurance products. So emerging technologies can really promote financial inclusion, and it can also help promote financial literacy. So I think when it comes to really being educated around these things, people in underserved communities don't usually have that privilege, right? So through digital education, we can really have interactive sessions around budgeting. How can you do budgeting? As a business, as an individual, how can you save effectively? How can you manage your credit better? And then lastly, I think I want to end off here. I'm looking at the time, and I think there's still one more question that needs to be answered. So I just want to end off by saying, that there's all these emerging technologies can come together and really transform different industries. And there's different scenarios in which we can do that and really provide a better lifestyle and standard of living for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Vanolia. No, absolutely. I mean, we've seen so many innovations from, using drones to drop off medicines, and even, work on crops, and it's just amazing what's happening at the moment. So Varuna, I'm going to ask you a question around how do we as women in STEM take advantage of the future of work, and how do we upskill ourselves? What do we need to be doing? Obviously there's so much going on now with AI and robotics and all this fourth industrial revolution topics. So how do we take advantage, and how do we upskill ourselves to prepare for the future of work?
Sure. Thank you, Melissa, for this question. I would say women need to focus on building a mix of skills. So ranging from technical skills, creativity, sustainability, adaptability, leadership. So they need all these skills to stay competitive in this ever evolving world of work. Firstly, digital skills. So digital skills are now non-negotiable. It's not just about knowing how to use a computer anymore, right? So it's about understanding how technology works at a deeper level. So women should look into areas like coding now, data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, and cloud computing. These are the technologies that are driving the major changes in sectors like finance, healthcare, agriculture. So having these skills will definitely give women a competitive edge. In Mauritius, for example, we are seeing a rise in tech adoption across industries, from financial services to smart farming. So understanding these emerging technologies will be key to staying ahead. Next, I would say is adaptability. So adaptability is now critical. Technology is definitely evolving fast and jobs are changing right alongside. So the ability to learn these new tools and adjust to different ways of working is going to be really essential as we progress. So continuously learning throughout your career is really important now, even for guys, right? So not just women. In Mauritius, we've been shifting more towards digital solutions in everything from government services to education. So the need to adapt quickly is becoming evident. Other skills, so problem solving and critical thinking, also non-negotiable. With automation taking over many routine tasks, companies are looking for people who can think creatively and are able to solve complex problems that machines can't, right? So women who can analyze data, they can spot the trends, they can tackle challenges heads on will really stand out. This is especially relevant in Africa as well, where innovative solutions are needed to address the local challenges that exist in sectors such as agriculture, healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Next, I would say is leadership and communication skills. So no matter how much technology is changing the workplace, the ability to be able to lead a team, to collaborate effectively, to communicate clearly will always be valuable. So being able to manage a diverse team, to make quick and informed decisions in the increasingly digital world will give women a strong advantage. For women, particularly in Africa, entrepreneurial skills are also valuable, mostly valuable, I would say, because in industries like agriculture, fintech, e-commerce, these industries are growing rapidly. So there's a huge opportunity for women to start their own businesses, to lead innovation in these spaces. So understanding the basics of business, whether it is finance, marketing, digital strategy, will help women to create these new opportunities, not just for themselves, but also for their communities as well. Lastly, a focus on sustainability is key. Africa, including Mauritius, are facing unique challenges now, like climatic change and resource management. So women who can combine technology with sustainable practices, whether it is renewable energy, green tech, or smart agriculture, are going to be in the high demand as these industries move more towards eco-friendly solutions. To sum up, I would say the future is about blending these technical skills with creativity, adaptability, leadership, and sustainability. So women who can develop this mix of skills won't just survive, they will thrive in this industry.
Absolutely, I can agree with you that 100%. Thank you so much, Varuna. So I've got 2 more questions left, and we are running a little bit tight on time. So if we can just keep them short. So Tamuna, the next question, Tamu, sorry. If you can just, oh, there's a bit of background noise somewhere. That's me. The question for you, Tamu, is how can we overcome the digital divide? 1 second. There you go. Sorry, there's some background for you there. So, Tamu, how can we overcome the digital divide in Africa and ensure that underserved communities have equal opportunity to technology and STEM education, and also just opportunities? So, if you can answer that for us. I'm just going to unmute you.
Yeah. Thanks, Melissa. I wish I had more time because I think it's an important question. But I'm happy as well that because I heard Vanilla touched on it a little bit, because it's a question I believe is also tied to things like financial inclusion, right, etc. To be able to actually, sort of close that digital divide. And it's important not only to level the playing field, so to speak, right, but to also create opportunities for all, regardless of background, regardless of gender, etc. Right. So I think personally,
I'm just going to stop you. I think there's some sound. Am I the only one hearing some sound noise? Yeah.
No, there is noise. Yeah.
Tamu, if you can just log out and log back in again, just onto the same link, just to fix your sound. So apologies about that. It'll come join us now. We'll wait for you. So while Tamu is just fixing his sound, Dr. Anino, in your opinion, what partnerships, both local and global, do you think are crucial for Africa's STEM enhancement and fostering diversity? If you can just give us a short view on that while we wait for Tamu.
Well, I think what's important is just really encapsulating what we have talked about before, is that it requires global cooperation. I leave to attend the UN General Assembly Summit of the Future this weekend, and whether the Global Digital Compact is going to be adopted. Now, that is something that is agreed by all the nations about digital, digital development for every country, and of course, gender is also part of it. But the important part of that is implementation. So importantly, we need to make sure that all these things are implemented right, and don't just stay as policy documents. And everybody has a part to play in all of this. I think that we need to move out of our little areas of operation and actually seek, right, within communities, within organizations. Platforms allow us to have access, right, and really have our voices heard at different places. And I think that cooperation and close cooperation is really what's required from all areas. It shouldn't just be people in silos of industry or countries, etc.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Anino. Tamu, I see you're back. I hope your sound's working.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm going to ask the question again. So how can we overcome digital? How can we overcome the digital divide in Africa to ensure that underserved communities have equal access to technology and STEM education? It is an important question, so I would love to hear your thoughts.
Thanks, Melissa. So I'll skip the sort of the foundational that I've mentioned because of time, but I just want to sort of lift up the issue around the importance of collaborative effort. I think we have heard a few speakers talk about partnerships. I don't think it's something we can emphasize enough, right? Because this is one of those societal problems which would typically involve several sectors and fraternities, especially businesses in the societies that we operate, in the markets that we operate, where we don't look at things like financial inclusion and closing the digital divide, from a profit lens, right, or from a philanthropical perspective as well, but somewhere in between, right, where there's common good, both for society at large, and for shareholder sort of value, right. So and practically, I think this is where we've also had the practical experience of how this is important and the impact that it can make as ABSA. If I give an example for our partnership with Women in Tech, Melissa, which you know very well, I think we have sort of collaborated in several areas to sort of propagate not just the agenda of gender equality on its own, but also to somewhat lead by example, right? So that other corporates can also see us as a bank that cares, right, for these societal challenges, and also emulate, some part of that, not as competition, but this is an area, one of the few areas that you can actually come together as different corporates to sort of solve for one common, sort of challenge that you all face. So I think just to give an example, right, of some of the stuff that we've done, you spoke earlier about the Philippi village, which we are very much involved in, from simple tasks as, trying to just make sure that the girls that are, part and parcel of that ecosystem have got access to equipment and computers, and some of the colleagues from our perspective will come in and speak to them and teach them, and transfer some of the digital skills that is required to close that gap. So, simple actions like that, go a very long way in enhancing employability, for example, and also just building confidence, in simple tasks as, CV writing. How do you do that? How do you conduct an interview, right, which you sometimes take for granted, but are things that become very important when somebody is trying to get into the working environment. We believe in partnerships, strategically, across the board. And, it's not just women in tech. We've, sort of been working together with Girl Code as well, right? I think this year was very important for us because it saw us being part of the first Pan-African hackathon, which they did. And we were involved in 3 markets, which is Botswana, Zambia, and Kenya. And here we were involved with, bringing girls together from university to then hack, some of the challenges that were put on the table. And things like this, start to bring together girls from different backgrounds, right? In a very familiar and very common place, to be able to leverage each other and also give them exposure, right, to skills and in some of these big corporates. And I think maybe, just in the interest of time, I just want to mention 2 other things which I feel from an absolute perspective have been quite critical. One is the partnership with AWS as well, right? To be able to impart some cloud skills. Melissa, you were involved in this, you know it's very well in terms of the impact it has. Cloud is one of the critical skills at the moment. And so, things like this, not only put then, sort of females at the forefront of becoming leaders in a special skill, right? But I think it also demystifies this component we were talking about around technical skills and the fact that, these are caveated for only men, and only men can thrive in such environments. Lastly is the Cybersecurity Academy and the Digital Academy as well, which are some of our, our feeder programs that we have somewhat biased towards females as well. So if you see the cohort that graduates from this, it's largely girls. And we'll continue on pass in some of these things to play our part. But I think the main issue here is that we're not doing it right, just for the fact that we want to be a leader in the space, but we also want to see other corporates emulate, right, and see what we're doing. And we are very happy, to come together and be part and parcel of that ecosystem, like what we saw at the Philippi Center, where you've got MTN also doing some things there, you've got APSA that's there, and then we, the impact that you then tend to see in environments like that is a much larger, sort of impact that is quite sustainable over time.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many great examples. Thank you so much, everyone on this panel, for having a huge impact and sharing your voices and really using this platform to create that excitement of opportunity across Africa. And we hope to see more of that. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to be introducing now our next panel of speakers. Thank you so much, Tamu. And our next panel, we're going to be delving more deeply into this piece of education. We spoke about a lot of access points, and we want to be able to cover the topic of empowering the future. So how and what is the importance of education, not just education, how do we have access to role models and more allies to make education accessible to more women and girls on the continent. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Dr. Elsie Iffa Kaufman. I hope I said that correctly. Dr. or Professor Elsie, she is from Ghana University and is the Dean of the Engineering and Sciences Department. So welcome, Dr. Elsie. I would also like to welcome Faiza Mammoniats. Hi, Faiza. Lovely to see you. We've been, I've known Faiza feels like for many years. Faiza is a partnerships management lead at FICO. And I'd also like to welcome on stage Jessie Rodwin, who is the founder and CEO of Careha, which is an edtech platform based in Egypt, but amazing edtech platform. And Jennifer Ndlovu, who is the Salesforce community manager or founder of the Salesforce community, based in South Africa or Zimbabwe. I'm not sure. I think it is South Africa. So Jennifer and everyone, thank you so much for joining us. What I'll do is I will ask each of you a question, and then before you answer the question, please introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit more about yourself. So my first question is going to be for Dr. Kaufman. So I'm going to just add you to the screen here. Can you share some examples of how visible role models in STEM have made tangible impacts on young girls in your experience?
Thank you so much, Melissa, and thank you for inviting me to this meetup. I'm so excited to be here. I've been listening to the other panels, and it's been wonderful. My name is Elsie Kaufman. I am the Dean of the School of Engineering Sciences at the University of Ghana. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, so that's extra special for us as well. What I do is I consider myself a STEM advocate, and I'm an advocate for women in STEM as well. So I'm so excited to be here talking to all these amazing women who are promoting the same cause. I have also been the National Science and Math Quiz moderator or quiz mistress for the past 18 years. And so I've been on TV for the past 18 years, trying to inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers. So that's me. Now to come back to your question, how role models can make a difference. I wish I had data from Ghana to share with you, but I don't have it immediately. We still have to do those studies. But I would like to share some information with you from other parts of the world, actually, specifically the US. What they have found, and this is from Girls Who Code, is that 71% of girls who are exposed to STEM role models report increased interest in STEM careers. Also, 63% of girls who participate in STEM programs report improved confidence in STEM abilities. This is from STEM Girls Clubs. And then finally, from STEM Sisters, we hear that 85% of girls who are mentored by STEM professionals report increased motivation to pursue STEM careers. These are powerful statistics, and I have seen it for myself. I'm going to use myself as the example. So the visible role models are basically inspiring the girls to pursue STEM careers. As a STEM advocate and being on TV, I'm very visible, and I use my story. I go around, I talk to students, I do all kinds of activities with young people. And what I have seen is that this is very true. And so as Dean of the School of Engineering Sciences, over the years, I have seen such a change. I was part of the team that started our School of Engineering Sciences at the University of Ghana. Our first batch of students arrived in 2004, and I can say that we had less than 10% female. In my own department of biomedical engineering, out of the 8 that showed up, there was only 1 young lady. So you can imagine that these are the kinds of statistics we're dealing with. But through many of these activities that we are doing, the last time I checked, which was for the last academic year, the last semester that I was doing this, we actually had 31.8% female in our engineering school. This is unusual, but it's also a very positive sign. What I also noticed is that in my own class, I teach engineering design to third-year engineering students. My own class had a 50-50 male to female ratio, which is unprecedented. And so what I see is that some of these activities, being visible, talking about what we do, helps. Another thing that also helps is hands-on experiences and mentorship programs that increase confidence and motivation. These are very, very important. So we do activities like competitions. You know, the National Science and Math Quiz is a competition. We also have robotics competitions, and we make sure that we include the young ladies in some of these activities to help them. And then finally, seeing women and minorities in STEM roles encourages the girls to follow suit. So I've seen many of my students who come around and tell me that they even decided to go into engineering because they've seen me doing the activities that I do. So these are some of the things that we can do to encourage the young ladies through mentorship to come in and join us. And the more of us that there are, the better it gets for all of us. And so we need to make ourselves visible. We need to tell our stories. We need to make ourselves approachable and ensure that we are sharing our learning with others who may want to join us. Thank you. Oh, Melissa, I think you're muted.
You're mute.
So sorry, I've had a cough, so I muted myself. Thank you so much, Professor Elsie, for your thoughts. You're like a celebrity in Ghana when it comes to being an advocate for especially women in STEM. So we are very honored to have you. And you have a few fans on LinkedIn also commenting. So thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you. You mentioned the last bit of your talk, you mentioned around the importance of mentorship as well. So I want to come to Pfizer for the next, and Jennifer, I'll ask you the same question as well. So mentorship is often considered to be a critical tool for success. So what does effective mentorship look like, especially for girls in STEM? So Pfizer, I'll come to you next if you want to talk to us about mentorship.
Thanks, Melissa, and thanks for this wonderful opportunity to be on this panel with all these educated and smart ladies in Women in Tech. I come from a technology background myself. Like Melissa says, we know one another for many years. I've worked for banks and for fintechs, primarily in South Africa and now across of Africa and some of Middle East as well. So I look forward to engaging and adding some value to these panels. To the question again, in terms of mentorship and what does effective mentorship look like, especially for girls in STEM. And like I said, I've come from a technology background myself. I've experienced being a mentee in my much younger days, and I saw the benefit of how that added value to my career. And now I'm doing it on the flip side, where I'm mentoring and also watching how these young women grow. And what I've actually concluded through this is, some of the things to ensure that you have the effective mentorship pathway to creating for these girls is get the environment ready for them. The environment must be conducive to one where they are able to grow, and whether that is growing in your professional or career sense at work, or wherever it is that you're studying, etc., or whether it is in your personal sense as well. Because remember that actually kind of co-joins together to create what an effective mentorship program would look like. Some of the things that you could do to support is look at what the mentees' specific needs are. Now, this will be different from person to person. It all depends on what goals they have, what challenges they are dealing with, because that's also very unique to each individual, depending on the space that they're in, depending on the stage of the career that they're in. That also has to be addressed through that process. So giving that particular support to those mentees, I think, is very, very important, and guiding them through that process where you help them with the strength and challenge. The other one is being a role model. And this I've also seen throughout my career, where I've observed people that I've kind of looked to that I thought were exemplary role models for something like this. But I also look at it again from this side. How can we be role models for these girls that are aspiring to contribute to the STEM world that they are all trying to focus in? And again, there's demonstrated success, right? When we say role models, we want to look at people that have had success. These are the ones that we want to aspire to. And then storytelling. And I always say storytelling is a part of our lives. I mean, I travel a lot, and anybody would know if you travel a lot, you become a storyteller. But storyteller, even in this context of mentorship, is extremely effective. I find that in the sessions when I'm mentoring the girls that I'm working with at the moment, and it's mostly internal to my company, I feel that by the moment you start giving a story about how you experience something, it becomes real and they can associate with it. So storytelling, telling them about everything doesn't always work. There will be success, there will be failures. And how do you help them deal with that? So that's one of the key things. And then of course, skills. I think skills are a critical thing, whether you are in a mentorship thing or whether you're just in a work program. Skills are needed to help you develop. It helps you deliver what you need to deliver in terms of the goals that you have, and helping them get the skills or guiding them to get the skills that they need to do that is also extremely important. And then, of course, I think networks, and this is where we play a big role, right? Because we are already networked at the stage of the careers that we are in today. We can open up the doors. We can allow them, we can be the conduit and help them navigate through those alleys that they need to go through to meet the people that they need to meet to help them get to the next level. So I think all of this facets and components, if you put it together, can all be effective in a mentoring and helping these girls actually achieve what they want to.
Thank you so much for that, Fazi. You've mentioned some really valid points there. And I would also just like to, on this point of mentorship, I've put a link here at the bottom for people to join our Women in Tech mentoring program, which is a global platform for mentorship. There is a subscription, it's a subscription model, but it is a phenomenal model for access to global mentors. So if you are interested in that, then please follow this link here below. So next I'm going to come to Jennifer. Welcome, Jennifer Ndlovu. Hi there. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Thank you, Melissa.
So Jennifer,
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So the same question to you about mentorship. So have you seen any sort of tangible ways of mentorship and how it's impacted either yourself or someone in your industry?
Yes, of course. So first of all, I would like to shout out to all the mentors out there. We can never be successful without you. Giving back to the community through mentorship is something so amazing. And I'll be glad to say I'm a product of effective mentorship. Some might know or not know. Just 4 years ago, I was a cleaner at a local hospital here in Zimbabwe. And from being, which is where I was introduced to technology, and I met amazing mentors. That was 2022. I met amazing mentors globally who were willing to hold my hand in this tech space. And today I'm saying that I'm proud to say that I think, or I know that I'm an amazing woman in technology, so to be specific, and to so basically mentorship is so dear to me. And I'll just add to what Faiza said about mentorship. There are times when we can't be available for the mentoring as mentors. So each time somebody knocks on your door looking for mentorship in the tech space, we should always be willing to listen to them, because for somebody to be successful, they definitely need mentorship. And again, effective mentorship would also involve addressing many challenges that may be faced in male dominations and be able to the mentees with guidance on navigating biases, having to face the stereotypes who think we can't do it as women, and also build confidence, because definitely we need confidence in the tech space. So finally, I'll just say successful mentorship requires a genuine commitment from both parties. Mentors should be genuinely invested in the success of their mentees, and mentees also should be open to learn to all the mentors out there. You're doing an amazing job. Over to you, Melissa.
Thank you, Jennifer. And it's amazing, your story. If you didn't hear that properly, 4 years ago she was a cleaner in a hospital, and she upskilled herself through Salesforce, and now she's a community leader in Salesforce, teaching others Salesforce. So how amazing is that? Technology really can change your life and empower you. So, and there are so many examples like that where you don't have to wait for someone to tell you to go and upskill, or there are so many free courses and academies online. It's amazing. So so Jessie Radwin, we're so happy to have you with us today. Thank you so much. She's joining us all the way from Egypt. As the CEO and founder of Kererha. I hope I said that correctly. Please introduce yourself and tell us more about your platform. It's an EdTech platform, and you've won so many awards. So congratulations on this amazing product that you've created. So yeah, please tell us a little bit about your company. And also the question I want to ask for you is, what programs or initiatives have you seen to be successful in empowering girls in STEM, and how to kind of motivate them to pursue a career in this industry?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me. And I'd like to say good morning. Today I'm from Canada. I'm on a business trip and it's 7 a.m. So I still didn't have my coffee. Okay. Kererha started from a personal problem that I went through 7 years ago. I gave birth to my daughter and I wanted to get back to the market, to have a flexible job that gives me time with my daughter and at the same time take care of my career and my daughter. And then I couldn't find a flexible job, so I started an initiative. It was called Hire Super Mama. And after this initiative, I realized the gap in the market with flexible working conditions. Women are looking for work-life balance, and they're looking to upskill to compete in the market, and they become outdated once they get outside the market and they want to get back. At the same time, we're working with companies on bridging the gender gap when it comes to diversity and inclusion. We help them implement programs that close this gap. What I believe in Egypt, we have a really huge tech gap when it comes to women. We have the majority of the market is mainly men. We have 28% of women in the workforce in tech. The majority goes for men, as well as for the STEM schools. Only 20% are women. And for the entrepreneurship scene, it's really dominated with men. VCs, they only invest in around 4%, even less, 3% women in tech, and mainly they need to have a co-founder, a male. It's really hard for just females to raise investments. So we came up with the first Women in Tech program in Egypt in 2023. It was called Tech Her Up. It was funded by the USAID and the DAI. We wanted to create a program and an initiative that helps women get inside the updated fields that can give them the flexibility of having a remote job, as well as having international, because here in Egypt, we're facing a lot of economic crisis. So gaining money internationally, like in dollars, USD, for example, or euros, it's really an advantage. At the same time, it's a field that has this kind of flexibility in freelance, that you can have the freedom of having a family at the same time, raising a family at the same time, working in a job that you love. So we implemented 5 tracks: data analysis, UI, UX, data science, e-commerce, and artificial intelligence. And we the idea of the tracks is that we put a mandate that you don't have to have background in technology. It's a 6-month program, really intense. Some of the fields, like the data science, you have to have a background in tech or at least engineering. But some of the programs, you don't have to have this kind of background. We even we partnered with international corporations like Vodafone, L'Oreal, BTech, to get from them consultancies and mentorship and success stories. For example, one of the main success stories in data analysis, head of voice in data analysis, she's called Shadi Yunus. She used to be an HR. She used to have HR background, like 15 years of HR, and she didn't have any background in tech. And she upskilled herself, and now she's leading Vodafone in Egypt in data analysis, which is one of their core core departments and the hardest departments to get in. So we mainly focus on qualifying those women and then hiring them. We qualified around 500, and we're qualifying by the end of this year 1,000, and we hired 50% of them, and now we're going to hire the rest by the end of the year. The main point is to open for them opportunities, not just contract jobs, opportunities in freelancing, opportunities with big names, big corporates, opportunities with SMEs and startups, for women to have the flexibility to work the kind of work they want to be in, not to be forced on any kind of work, because this is the circumstances and the opportunities that is in front of them. So it's the idea of opening new doors. You, by your own self, create your own door. And the idea of this program is that you have to get, after the 6 months, you get qualified enough, and this is approved by the USAID and the companies that are partnering with us, that this kind of curriculum gets you, that you can start as a junior level. So we don't have age restriction. You can be just a fresh graduate, and you can be a mom that gets a 40-year-old mom that wants to get back to the market, but she doesn't know where to go. So she creates a new market for her, a new career for her. And the companies are actually really interested to offer jobs. When it comes to tech, they're not interested in the age. Unlike most jobs, they have age restrictions. But when it comes to tech, they're actually interested in the skills, and they don't. It doesn't matter for them. You're 18, you're 40, you're 50. They just want the job done. I believe in Egypt, things are getting better when it comes to tech. And I think this program, we want to actually, Melissa, we want to take it more international if there's like an opportunity for that, because it's a plug and play program, and I think it can really impact a lot of other African and Middle Eastern countries like Egypt, because most of us, we share similar challenges. So I think I hope this can be the start of some hope for the tech industry in Africa and Middle East.
It's very exciting, and I think the message for me is clear. You're not too old, you're not too young. It's for everyone, and you just need to be curious, and you just need to go for it. So with that, I want to ask a next question back to Professor Elsie Kaufman around curiosity. So Jessie, you mentioned that it's for women sort of transitioning back into work, even if you're a mom looking to get back into work and want to upskill. But we really need to start young, I think. In my view, we need to get to those grassroots levels. So Elsie, I want to ask you a question just around how do we get, inspire the curiosity and really ensure that we cultivate a culture of curiosity in young girls to take up STEM subjects. How would you give us some advice on how we can do that?
Yes, there's a lot that we can do. I'm already doing some of these things with my foundation, the LCA Kaufman Foundation in Ghana. But these are things that we can all do. And with an organization like Women in Tech, I think we can do a whole lot more together. So the key principles, if you want to do something like this, is to just make STEM fun and engaging. Make it fun and engaging. Then you want to promote a growth mindset among the young people. You want to provide them with opportunities for creativity and innovation, if that's what you want them to get. And then we need to address the biases, right? So in the previous panel, I was listening, a lot has been said about addressing the biases. So I won't talk much about that, but talk about the learners themselves and what we can do for them. I think we need to design age-appropriate activities. age-appropriate activities that will help them to acquire these skills that we want them to have. So if we look at the younger ones, 5 years to 8 years thereabouts, this is the early childhood. We can think of hands-on activities that you can have them do. You do it through play. As they are playing, they are learning. And we also use activities like storytelling to make it fun for them. The whole idea is to make it fun so that they don't feel like it's something that you do. Typically on the African continent, the teaching and learning of science has not been the best. We have these timetables that say it's time for science, it's time for math, and the young people are made to go and do certain activities which they usually find very boring. We were surprised to find that there are some people who have been teaching for many years. The idea of teaching is reading out notes to young people or writing on the board for them to copy. That will not do. So for this age range, we are talking about playing, we are talking about hands-on activities, and we are talking about storytelling. When they get a little older, between 9 years and 11 years thereabouts, we have to start giving them challenges, start asking them questions, problem solving, give them problems to solve, get them involved in clubs, STEM clubs, competitions, and continue the hands-on activities at that age. You can even start the mentorship program at this age. I think they can benefit from mentorship programs that we've been talking about. When they get to middle school, 12 years to 14 years, now in class, even the other subjects, it doesn't have to be the science subjects, get them to be more project-based in nature. So project-based learning will help. This is where you can also encourage them to be doing the robotics and the coding. You can do STEM camps during vacations. These are all fun activities that will help them to appreciate the subjects. And then finally, when you get to the high schoolers are now ready for research opportunities. Let's think about internships that they can do. They can shadow a researcher, they can shadow an engineer, somebody doing what they can aspire to do, so that they see it firsthand, so that they can participate. We can also continue having these competitions. The competitions are also very fun and popular if you can do them well. So let's keep them doing those things. So that at any age range in the childhood that we are talking about, if you want to promote this creativity, you want to help them to appreciate the STEM subjects, the idea is to just follow the principles. Let it be fun for them. Let them think about what they are going to use their learning for, that growth mindset. Provide them with opportunities, different activities that we can come up with to help them to engage and enjoy. And then finally, the barriers that we impose on them as society, we need to work on those, but someone else talked about that, so I will not focus so much on that. So these are some of the things that we can do. I have seen these things working already. And so let's do it in a more concerted manner, a more purposeful manner. Let's partner together. And I like the idea of this Women in Tech. We can do it together and make a huge impact. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Prof. Elsie. So we are almost running out of time, but I do want to just ask each of our panelists just a quick question. So Faiza, I've got you next, and it's just basically, it's not an easy one, but I'm going to just ask you to put your input in around how do we promote, encourage girls that make it that it becomes a lasting systemic change. So it's not just a change for in our generation, but for the next generation as well. So how do we make that lasting change?
And I think, if you follow on from what Prof. Elsie was just saying now, make it fun and engaging for them. We're going to do all of that work to do all of that. It would be a total shame, right, if we lost it somewhere midway and we didn't finish and keep it sustainable. So I think the most important thing for me, and this is something I live by, it's my daily mantra, consistency. Consistency is key to success. And that's in anything you do, right? So even in the STEM world and even in this mentoring that we would do with them and help them, consistency and continuity for me, I think, is extremely important. We need to ensure that that is the outline or the border of what we operate within. I think also what we needed to do is we need to make sure that STEM is embedded in what they do every day. This must not be like when you go to school, you've got your lessons and then you've got extracurricular. This is not extracurricular. This is your main lesson, right? And this is, I think, something that also we need to drill into this environment to ensure that it's part and it's core of the learning process. And if it's embedded in that, they will act on it and they will live by it because it's part of what they have to do. I think one of the other ones, and we spoke about this in a few senses now, setting the scene for success, helping them navigate that difficult path, being the guide or helping them guide through the difficult times, being the role model, right? Being the role model of success for them, showing them that sometimes you are going to have a failure, but sometimes it will work as well. And this is what we aspire to help you work with, to make it work for you. So I think all of that kind of contributes, showing them how important women are in this space. I mean, yes, men are important too, but I think we're a little bit more important. And we want to be able to show them their role in the importance of them being in STEM and how they can contribute to the lives and the success of themselves as well as those that are around them. And maybe lastly, to add on to the continuity and the consistency, I think regular actions, just something that you do regularly, small actions, that daily task that will amount to something big at the end of it. You're on mute. You're on mute, but
sorry, that is my trademark. I'm always on mute. So thank you so much, Faiza, for that. Lots of great nuggets of advice there. And I think if we can all just implement one of those, we can make this world a better place, right? So my second last question comes back to Jessie Radwin, and it's more around what role do you believe educators play? I could have asked this question to Dr. Elsie as well, being a professor, but I'm asking you, Jessie, to say, as an educator, or what would you say, how can we as educators, impact more women and girls in STEM?
I feel it has to come early on from when they're really, really young. I remember quite well in school, we always had the option of choosing between an elective between art and ICT. And I remember all the girls, they used to choose art, and all the boys, they used to choose ICT. And I remember quite well that some of my friends, they wanted to join ICT, but they felt like they're going to be with the boys and they want to be with the girls, although they're not talented in art and they hate art, and this is where they want to go. So, and same goes for the boys. They feel like if they come to the art class, the boys are going to make fun of them. So I feel like I remembered this incident when I looked at the question, that early on we need to start challenging the stereotypes. There's nothing called that like what happened, art is for girls and ICT or tech is for boys. We need to start putting out there from a very young age, raising awareness on what is STEM, and how can we know if you fit in the STEM system or industry. Are you talented for it or not? Do you have the brains for it? Do you have the capabilities? From a very young age, we have a lot of people who really fit in the STEM education, but they don't understand. I knew the word STEM at a really after college. I understood. We started hearing the word STEM in Egypt. Before hearing before all this time, I've never heard this word. So it's from a very young age we need to start challenging the stereotypes and creating an inclusive learning environment. Like there always has to be a good proportion of girls to boys, so that none of them feel like it's more of a male dominant area. Like, for example, as well, something not related, in college, supply chain, for example, was always so male dominant, and and women were not interested in it, not because they don't actually understand it before they study it, but because it was always full of boys. So I think there are like early stereotypes that we need to work on from schools from a very young age, and we need to as well entities and corporates and startups, they need to start working on initiatives more to let people understand what is STEM, and as well making sure with numbers that we have achievable numbers from a very young age on women going into STEM, like helping schools with their systems, how we can let people, for example, the girls that are really good at math, how we can introduce them to more opportunities to help them. For example, at schools here in Egypt, if you're super good at math, you're just good at math. They're not going to give you an opportunity. Why not open doors for you so you can advance? So those kind of people, those kind of kids, if they don't advance, they will never get opportunities like the ones, for example, in Europe or in the US, who advance at their age. So accessing more opportunities, helping people raise more awareness, and mainly challenging the stereotypes from a super, super young age.
Thank you so much, Jessina. I absolutely agree with you. We have the same in South Africa. Well, I'm going to show my age now, but in my school days, we had the option between home economics, which is like cooking and mending clothes or making clothes, and then technical drawings, which the boys did. So it was just assumed that the girls would do home economics and the boys would do the technical drawings. So it actually is the same. I don't know if it's the same anymore, but that was back in my day.
Yeah.
So it's just changing those stereotypes and making it okay. If a girl wants to do technical drawings and woodwork, then it shouldn't be discriminated against, and vice versa. So thank you so much, ladies. Oh, Jennifer, I've got a last question for you. And it's just around male sort of allies. And I don't know if you have had any male role models or any stories around why we need more male allies in women in tech, and why this isn't just women in tech isn't just about women, it's about diversity and inclusion. So if you have any thoughts around that.
Oh yes, I have lots of male allies. I have lots of male role models, mentors, and it's good that we also have a lot of males in the women in tech space. Look, we've got a director in Burundi who's a male. That's amazing. And males can support us as women in tech in so many ways. For example, just by listening to our experiences and advocating for ideas and contributions, and also creating safe spaces for women to speak up and be willing to take a step back and let their voices be heard. That's one way that males can support us. And another way is also by using their privilege and power and influence to open doors for women in STEM. So this could mean recommending women for opportunities, mentoring them, or simply being aware of any biases that may exist in the workplace and working to address them. I mean, they should be rallying behind us and fight for us where they can. And last but not least, it's also important for just the male allies to educate themselves on the unique challenges that the women face in STEM and be willing to have difficult conversations about gender inequality. So yes, we really need males to be successful as women in tech. And again, shout out to all the men who are supporting women in tech. Thank you so much, Melissa. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, and all of our speakers today. It was really a fantastic panel. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you all again working on some exciting projects. Let's collaborate, let's work together, let's see how we can inspire and empower more girls on the African continent. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So I have one last surprise for you. We have another speaker that is none other than Myra Silva. Myra is our chapter director from the Cabo Verde chapter. How are you, Myra? Thank you for joining us today. And you didn't get your chance to introduce your chapter earlier, so I'd love to give you the moment now to tell us what amazing work is happening in Cabo Verde.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding.
It's okay.
I'm here. Thank you for this moment. So my name, as was mentioned, my name is Myra Silva. I'm representative from the Women in Tech Cape Verde, and has been an honor and a great satisfaction to accept these invitations, and with conviction that despite the gain that Cape Verde woman has been making in this area, it is possible to do more and more and better. So, and I hope together with all the women in tech, women in my country, and all the network that Women in Tech Global has, and with the partnership that we are building now to fulfill these missions assigned to me to promote greater inclusions and empowerment of a woman in digital sector in my country. For those that doesn't know where is Cape Verde, Cape Verde is in Atlantic Oceans. It has 10 islands and 500,000 inhabitants. So Cape Verde has a full amazing woman that is working in technology field. And I want to emphasize that as a representative that for women in tech in Cape Verde, we will encourage more and more women in Cape Verde to venture in this field. We intend to promote female mutual support, develop agile mindsets, and create more role models in our country so that women have a great representation in leadership across the industry, particularly in technology. So our chapter, we have 17 advisors member. We have 16 member board, and we also have a partnership with the first partnership that we had was with our national newspaper named Expresso das Ilhas. We already have more than 10 articles published online in our national platform with women from Cape Verde that is in leadership roles and with knowledge in expertise in technology field and emergency fields. So emerging fields. So we are focused on activity around educations, particularly for digital capacities building and advocacy. For example, last year we have a program that named Kids Lab. We already benefit more than 300 children aged in 6 to 11 years, provide training in robotics and basic computing on the islands of San Vicente and another island that is Santiago. That is my island. Yeah.
That's amazing. We've seen the lovely pictures from your events. It's always very exciting, vibrant, colorful, all the young children that you are inspiring and teaching them technology skills, robotic skills. Mm-hmm. So I want to encourage people to follow your chapter on the WIT Hub as well, and to join our Africa Awards to be aware of what's happening in October. Everything is accessible via our WIT Hub, which is you can find here on the wit-h.com, and also join the Cape Verde chapter or any of the other African chapters or global chapters that you have heard from today. But we have to wrap up because we are running out of time. So thank you very much for all the viewers. We've had a great time sharing all the opportunities on the Africa continent. Please reach out to myself, Melissa Slaymaker, on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, please follow us on all of our social media platforms. But join the hub because it's free. All of the chapter activities are posted on there, and you can engage and communicate with us and be part of this exciting global movement. So we are out of time, but thank you, Mara, for joining me and for sharing about your amazing chapter as well. Thank you to all our speakers today and our sponsor, APSA, for making this a great event as well. We look forward to future virtual meetups. We need to make this a regular thing. We've had fantastic comments coming from all over the world. So we think that we will do this again soon. So watch this space. Thank you, everyone. Have an awesome rest of your day. Enjoy your lunch and have a successful rest of your week. Bye-bye.